After the third week of protest over George Floyd's death, demonstrators are taking their message beyond big cities.
Yeah, to places like Bethel that are not used to these protests, and many don't want them there either. As you can see there, that's led to sometimes violent clashes, arrests, and tonight a curfew. Local 12's Brad Underwood joining us now live from Bethel, where many do not seem to want to have a civil discussion. Hey Brad, what's the latest there?
Well, good evening, Kyle. Yeah, that certainly seems to appear to be what is happening in places like Bethel when you see these kinds of protests being taken from the city to the rural areas, you know, to keep a clean version. It doesn't matter what you tell me, I'm not going to agree with you, is kind of the message that protesters are greeted with, so to speak. But I will say this, I did talk to several people who are from Bethel, lived here for a very long time, and they were even telling me that they didn't recognize a lot of the faces on the anti-protest side. So here you've got large groups of people in both sides of this protest that may not be and are not from the Bethel area or even parts of Clermont County. But with that being said here, the Black Lives Matter protesters say a rural place like Bethel, a predominantly white community, this is the perfect place to take their message.
From one side to the other, Bethel is yet again the backdrop of a Black Lives Matter protest and a counter-protest that at times drowns everything out.
Towns like this is the old. It needs to be brought up to like the new generation, how it is now. They're living 100 years in the past.
Elena Barger and her two sisters are in the middle of it. They're from Bethel, and they say they're sad this is the current state of their hometown and this country.
I've walked out here today and literally have been followed around by people that are so ignorant, walking around following me with guns, have to be surrounded by cops because it's too dangerous to be out here to speak up about somebody's life. Somebody's life is so unimportant to some people.
In the crowd, symbols of Confederacy are visible and racial slurs are shouted at protesters, but many in the crowd say it's not about race, but rather hometown pride.
We're not letting any outsiders influence us, and we just want to make sure that we're heard too.
Shouting, anger, and disagreement, back and forth all afternoon and evening.
It's a shame that we have so much division in this country right now, and you know, I feel threatened. This whole town feels threatened.
Division so clear, police officers are the line in the sand separating the groups.
Unfortunately, this matter is nationwide, as everyone knows here, and it's put a divide in this country that doesn't need to be here.
Again, you mentioned, Kyle, at the top of the show there, that curfew, waiting to hear back from the police department here as to how many citations, if any, were given, as they gave people a warning and then asked them to leave and push them out of Plain Street here through the heart of downtown Bethel. Earlier in the evening, though, 3 arrests in the afternoon, 2 for fighting, 1 for someone who was intoxicated. Later on, about 15 minutes before the curfew, 2 women were arrested after getting into a fight. We don't know if they were booked into the jail yet tonight, but those previous 3 were cited, given a summons to appear in court, and released to go home. Reporting live in Bethel, Brad Underwood, Local 12 News.
Brad, thank you. And the chief tells us this is the second curfew in the last few months, the last one because of the coronavirus pandemic.